For more on the Buckeyes, we are now joined by Bill Rabinowitz of the Columbus Dispatch, Ben Axelrod from Buckeye Grove. Bill, I got to ask you first, if you're a fan of history, you can't really like them being ranked second in the nation then, because they never win a national championship when that happens.
Yeah, I think they were, what, 13th in 2002, and, you know, all that stuff's overrated. I mean, if they win their games, the good thing about being number 2 is if they go undefeated, then you have to think that they're going to be in the national championship game.
Ben, I know you could care less about the history.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, I don't think the 2013 Ohio State team is going to be thinking about what happened in 1987 when they're playing out there.
All right, suspensions coming down yesterday. Bradley Roby out a game. Rod Smith, he's going to be suspended for that Buffalo game. Not really a big deal to miss them. I think the third stringers would be more than fine. But do you think Urban Meyer sent the correct message?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bradley Roby, you know, if he takes part in this diversion program, he's not even going to be charged with anything.
Right.
And he's still going to miss a game no matter what. So Urban's definitely sending a message here that if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you're either going to miss playing time, you're going to miss scholarship money. And that's a pretty important message to send, I think.
Bill, you agree with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was, as long as this thing dragged on, if it had been dropped, let's say, right away, then it's probably easier to say, okay, there was not a whole lot to it. But he set the precedent with Carlos Hyde, and obviously that's a little different because it involved a woman, and that's one of the core values that he just has no tolerance for that stuff.
As well he shouldn't.
Right.
All right, 13 days till kickoff. Yesterday, Urban Meyer said that it's a good thing they don't have a game tomorrow, that they're not ready to play right now. Personally, I don't buy that one little bit. Are you taking, is this team not ready to play a game, or are they just not Urban Meyer ready to play a game?
Well, I think they're not Urban Meyer ready, and they know. They gear their practices toward being ready for the first game. If the season started August 20th, then they would gear their practice toward that. So, no, it's not a concern at all. Now, there are some things that they do need to clean up.
It's the first game against Buffalo still?
It sure is.
Yeah, they're ready to play a game.
Ready, done, set. All right, looking around the Big Ten Conference, Ohio State is the heavy favorite to win it regardless of who comes out of the Legends Division. In 2012, Nebraska took that crown, followed by Michigan, Northwestern, and Michigan State. It should be yet again another close race in 2013.
We're excited about 2013 coming and look forward to it. We sort of feel like our football team has a little bit of an edge to them right now.
At the end of the day, the expectation is to win championships. And when you walk into our team room, on the right side, it would be your left, would say to win the Legends Division and win the Big Ten. You know, we want to put that trophy in our cake.
We're going to play who's put in front of us. I mean, that's pretty much the way it is. I'm more worried about our football program and our football team just getting better and playing well, and the rest will take care of itself.
Every week you have to get better. I mean, if you're going to win championships, and the good teams that I've been fortunate to be with, that's what they've done from week 1 to week 2 and so on.
Brady Hoke, head coach of Michigan, the Wolverines, probably the favorite to win the division. You on board with that?
Yeah, I am. I like the fact that their offense fits what they're wanting to do now. Devin Gardner is a pro-style quarterback. They've got that. Obviously, they had to go with what Denard Robinson did well, which was the spread stuff. But that's not what Brady Hoke coaches. So I have some questions about their defense, but I don't think the Legends Division's all that strong. So that's what I like.
Ben, you and I disagree with Bill.
We do. Let me say I like Michigan this year. They return only 4 starters on offense and 4 on defense. But in my eyes, the more Rich Rod recruits you get out of there and the more Brady Hoke recruits you get in there, the better for Michigan.
Right.
Having said that, I like Nebraska. I like Bo Pelini. I like Taylor Martinez. And I like the fact that they don't have to play Ohio State and they don't have to play Wisconsin this year.
I think that's the biggest thing, that they do not draw those tough teams out of the leaders. And in the Legends Divisions, they end up having a lot of their main games at home. As for Michigan, you look at the schedule, it's pretty brutal with the road games versus Penn State, Michigan State, and Northwestern. In the end, I do think it's that loss to Ohio State, which I'll go on record and say happens, it's going to end up costing them any chance to go to the Big Ten title game.
There's no question they have a tougher schedule, but I happen to think they're a better team.
Also Notre Dame. They play
also Notre Dame, that's good. Real quick, Northwestern. Could be a surprise team. A lot of people like them as a sleeper, Ben.
I don't like Northwestern. I think they're getting, outside of Ohio State, the most hype in the Big Ten this year. And it's not really how you handle failure. Sometimes it's how you handle success. And I don't know if Northwestern's really ready at this stage in their program to handle the type of success that a lot of people are predicting for them.
Well, we'll know soon enough. Big game for Ohio State when they travel to Evanston on that night. As for the Leaders Division, Ohio State won all their games a year ago, but because of those pesky sanctions and the ones that were handed to Penn State, they got to see Wisconsin play in the Big Ten title game. for the second year in a row. Penn State is still on probation, and Purdue, Indiana, Illinois, guess what? Hate to play spoiler. They're not going to be in contention. It looks to be a two-man race.
My time there was something that you can take from, and, you know, the great decisions that he made on game day when those bullets are flying, and it's a chaotic moment. I learned a lot from Jim Tressel there at my 7 years at Ohio State.
There's going to be differences when you take over a program. It's important to put your own stamp on it, and so I've never asked the question of how things were. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and there was a lot of success. For us, it's to sit back and look at and get our core values into place.
Gary Anderson there replacing Brett Bielema in Wisconsin. A transition will take place. Ben, how do you think it goes?
I think it goes fine. I mean, you talk to most people around here, you wouldn't know it, but Wisconsin's the three-time defending Big Ten champ. And, you know, Gary Anderson, he coached for Urban Meyer at Utah. They returned some key players like James White. You know, I like Wisconsin. I think they're a legitimate threat to Ohio State in the leaders division.
Yeah, I think there's no question they have the best running backs in the Big Ten. You'd mentioned James White. Melvin Gordon averaged 10 yards a carry a year ago. Bill, Wisconsin has a nice schedule. I think it again comes down to that September 28th home game or road game here at Ohio State. And, you know, that's the big question with this football team is will they make it to a fourth straight Rose Bowl? Do you think people are underestimating the threat that Wisconsin could be?
I don't think they're underestimating. I think that it does play into Ohio State's hands somewhat, that they play them early in the season at night in Columbus. I think that's a tough thing for Wisconsin to have to deal with. But obviously, you look at what Wisconsin's done over the years, and if you don't respect Wisconsin, there's something wrong with you.
Regardless if Brett Bielema is out of town. Penn State, thoroughly impressed with what Bill O'Brien did last year in his first year. Unbelievable job. The good news for them is they return even more starters than they did a year ago, but they're breaking in a new quarterback, Ben.
They are, and it's probably going to be a freshman in Christian Hackenberg, except, you know, if you look at the Big Ten right now, I think it's undeniable that Urban Meyer and Brady Hoke are doing the best job recruiting. I think Bill O'Brien is the third best recruiter, and they've had sanctions like no other school in history has had. So, you know, Christian Hackenberg is a five-star recruit. They've got tight end Adam Brenneman. He's kind of in that Rob Gronkowski mode. I don't know if he looks as good with his shirt off, but I do like the direction that Penn State's heading in, regardless of their sanctions right now.
I think if the sanctions weren't there, they would be a much bigger threat for recruiting and overall in the Big Ten than even Michigan is. I want to ask you about Indiana, Bill. I'm on board. They're going to a bowl game, 6-6 this year.
I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right. Kevin Wilson's done a very nice job. That is a very difficult place to recruit. Indiana's not exactly a hotbed of football. And they were obviously competitive with Ohio State. It was 52-49 last year. A couple of late touchdowns made it a little misleading. But they have a very good offense. The question for Indiana is, can they play at least a little bit of defense? Right.
There's two teams left, Illinois and Purdue. I think Illinois is going to be terrible. But you think, Ben, even under Darrell Hazel, Purdue, perhaps the worst team in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah. I think Purdue is, without a doubt, the worst team in the Big Ten, and maybe not talent-wise, and I do like Darrell Hazel, let me say that. But you look at their schedule, they play 3 teams that qualified for BCS games last year, and then they play Ohio State. So that's not really something that you're looking forward to with a first-year head coach, you know, heading into a new program with a new scheme. No, I think Purdue is going to be 12 out of 12 this year.
12 out of 12. Ooh, not good, huh? Well, we'll see what happens. Ben Axelrod, thank you very much for the time. Bill Rabinowitz, we've still got more to talk with him. He's got a new book coming out, Buckeye Rebirth, set to come out this fall. We're going to get his thoughts on that from Wall to Wall.